Welcome back to AI Solutions, the pathway to profit. This is episode 6, and let's be direct. The headlines screaming about AI-driven job loss are, frankly, a lazy and unproductive way to look at this technology. The real story, the one that actually leads to profit, is what we're tackling today. The human in the loop, augmenting, not replacing your workforce. I've sat in meetings where executives ask, how many heads can we cut with this? And what I tell them is, you're asking the wrong question. The question you should be asking is, how do we make our best people 10 times better? So let's reframe this. What if AI's true potential isn't in rendering human capability obsolete, but in amplifying it to a level we've never seen before? That's the journey we're on today. So what exactly is this human-in-the-loop system? It's a term you'll hear a lot, but what I find helpful is to think of it not as a complex piece of tech, but as a strategic partnership. It's a symbiotic relationship where you let the machine intelligence do what it's brilliant at, sifting through mountains of data, finding patterns a human could never spot. But then it brings those findings to the expert, the human. This is where the real value comes in. The human partner provides the judgment, the contextual understanding that no algorithm has, and the crucial ethical oversight that no algorithm has. The way I like to picture it is like an expert pilot in a modern cockpit. They have a sophisticated autopilot system that handles routine flight paths and processes thousands of data points a second. But when there's unexpected turbulence or a critical judgment call is needed for landing, the pilot's hands are firmly on the controls. The technology enhances their ability, but the human remains in ultimate control. That's the essence of a powerful human-in-the-loop system. And that pilot in the cockpit brings us right to the core business case. This is where I often see leaders stumble. It's incredibly tempting to look at AI through a simple lens of replacement, a direct path to cutting costs by reducing headcount. This is where I often see leaders stumble. That's the key point. It's incredibly tempting to look at AI through a simple lens. What I find is that this is often a flawed and short-sighted strategy. Why? Because for all its analytical power, an AI has no common sense. It can't generate a truly novel idea out of thin air, or understand the subtle frustration in a key client's voice. You might find a better path is to think in terms of augmentation. By combining the machine's efficiency with your team's ingenuity, you unlock superior outcomes, increased productivity, a higher quality of work, and genuine innovation. That, right there, is a much more sustainable and ultimately more profitable path than simple cost-cutting. Let's make this tangible. Think about your customer service team, a place where this model shines. What I like to see is AI working in the background, not on the front line. It can instantly triage incoming tickets, routing a simple password reset to an automated system, while flagging a complex, high-value customer issue for a senior agent. As soon as that agent takes the call, the AI has already pulled up the entire customer history and is suggesting relevant articles from your knowledge base. You might find that this frees up your agent to stop hunting for information and start focusing on the actual human conversation, listening, showing empathy, and solving the really tricky problems that build loyalty. The result isn't just a faster resolution. It's a genuinely better customer experience, which is the ultimate driver of satisfaction and repeat business. Now, if we want to see a truly high-stakes example, let's journey into the world of medical diagnostics. What I find so powerful here is the model's application in radiology. Think about it. You have AI models that can analyze thousands of medical images, like MRIs or CT scans, at a speed no human can match. They can flag subtle anomalies, tiny patterns that a radiologist might miss at the end of a 12-hour shift. But the AI doesn't make the diagnosis. You might find the best application is where it acts as an expert second opinion. The system flags a potential issue, drawing the expert radiologist's attention to a specific area. The doctor then applies their years of deep medical knowledge and understanding of the patient's context to make a faster, more accurate diagnosis. This isn't about replacing the doctor. It's about giving them a superpower that can ultimately save lives. This idea of a human AI team isn't just a theory. It actually has a fantastic name that I find really sticks. It comes from the world of chess, from the legendary Garry Kasparov. He called these hybrid teams centaurs. Now, after Kasparov was famously defeated by IBM's Deep Blue, he didn't just walk away. What I find so insightful is that he started exploring new ways to play, pioneering tournaments where human players could team up with computers. The results were astounding. These Centaur teams consistently outperformed everyone. They beat the most advanced AI supercomputers playing solo, and they beat the most brilliant human grandmasters working alone. You might find that the real lesson here is in the synergy. The AI provides the immense computational power, analyzing millions of possibilities, but the human provides the strategic oversight, the intuition, and the creative spark that guides that power. It's not man versus machine. It's man with machine. So let's bring this home. How do you actually spot these augmentation opportunities in your own business? What I like to do is a simple workflow audit. Just walk through a process for one of your teams and look for the grind, the repetitive, data-heavy tasks that bog people down. You might find the sweet spot is any task that requires sifting through vast amounts of information before a human needs to make a final judgment call. A perfect example is legal discovery, where AI can review 1,000,000 documents to surface the most relevant 100 for a lawyer to analyze. Or think about financial anomaly detection, where the system flags 5 strange transactions out of 10,000 for an analyst to investigate. What I'm also seeing work incredibly well is using AI to generate a solid first draft of marketing content, which a human editor then perfects with brand voice and creativity. It's about finding the drudgery so you can free up your experts to do what you hired them for, to think, strategize, and create. Now, once you've identified that perfect augmentation opportunity, there's a crucial piece of the puzzle that often gets overlooked. You can have the most powerful AI in the world, but what I find is that it's completely useless if its insights are presented in a confusing or overwhelming way. A human-in-the-loop system is only as good as its user interface. You might find that the best systems are built with obsessive user-centric design. Instead of a data dump, the interface presents the AI suggestions as clear, simple, and actionable prompts. What I like to see is a design that turns the AI into a seamless and intuitive partner, making it easy to accept, reject, or modify a suggestion. The whole point is to reduce cognitive load, not add to it. It's about turning powerful data into simple, confident decisions. Okay, so we have a great interface, but what about the people using it? This naturally brings us to the conversation around skills. And what I want to stress here is that the goal isn't replacement, it's evolution. What I like to see is a focus on three core areas. First, a new kind of data literacy, so your team understands the why behind an AI suggestion. Second is developing sharp critical thinking about the AI's output, not just blindly accepting it. And perhaps most importantly, what I find is the emerging skill of learning how to prompt or train these systems effectively. You might find that this is the real shift. Your team moves from performing rote tasks to managing and leveraging intelligent tools, freeing them up for the truly high-value strategic work. But none of this matters if your team won't use the tools. This brings us to the human element, which is often the biggest hurdle. What I find is that employees are naturally skeptical, even fearful of AI, and you have to tackle that head on. What I like to see is absolute transparency from leadership. You have to hammer home the message that the goal is efficiency and empowerment, not elimination. Then you might find the best way to build trust is to invite people in. Don't just roll out a finished product. Involve your key team members, the informal leaders and respected experts, in the pilot and design phases. Let them help shape the tool. And finally, what I do is hunt for those early success stories and amplify them. When you can show how the new system helped Mark in marketing cut his research time by half, allowing him to be more creative, that's more powerful than any memo. It's those tangible wins that turn fear into genuine buy-in. So when you zoom out and look at this collaborative horizon, what I find is we're not just talking about evolving current jobs. We're talking about creating entirely new ones. You might find roles emerging like AI interaction designer, focused purely on perfecting that human-machine interface, or an AI ethics officer, ensuring these powerful systems are used responsibly. What I really like to see is the rise of the machine learning trainer, where your team's job is to actively teach the AI, shaping it to your specific business context. This reinforces the optimistic view that augmentation frees up human potential. It allows us to offload the repetitive work and finally focus our energy on the strategic, creative, and interpersonal challenges that machines simply can't solve. So as we close out our journey for today, what I find is that the most critical lesson boils down to a single, powerful shift in perspective. You might find that the entire conversation changes when you stop asking, who can we replace? Who can we replace? And start asking, how can we augment? What I like to see are businesses embracing this human in the loop model, because that's the real sustainable path to profit and genuine innovation. And remember, success hinges on smart, user-centric design, a true commitment to upskilling your team, and a transparent plan to build trust. So now that we understand the power of that one-to-one human-AI partnership, how do we prepare our entire organization for this monumental shift? Join us next time for episode 7, where we'll explore just that, AI-ready culture, the non-technical side of a successful rollout.